Nurmagomedov's shock retirement in the 155 division, which is probably the deepest division in the UFC, right, Mike? Quite arguably.
100%. Yeah.
Talent-wise, just absolutely absurd. You have like the top 10 is just ridiculously packed with talent, and it leaves us in a position where you have guys like Conor, who's always in there, Dustin, Gaethje, Tony, Michael Chandler, a newcomer, who are all like, okay, well, what's next for me? How can any of us get this vacant strap? My initial thoughts post-fight was, oh, that's cool. That means I would assume Conor and Dustin in January is probably more than confirmed to be booked, and I think that is now going to be for a vacant strap. But Mike, before I bring you in on this, I want to lay you out how I think everything should be broken down, and then you can tell me what you think of it, okay?
Yeah.
So I think obviously one matchup is already made, right? So Conor, Dustin for vacant strap. I don't know if anybody really has a problem with that. Conor can pretty much get a title shot more or less whenever. And if it's for a vacant title, no one's going to deny Dustin Poirier an opportunity to fight at the belt, right? Like no one's going to take that disrespect for DP. For the diamond, in the meantime, we're left with Michael Chandler, who has served as an alternate, who didn't end up competing. And I think the fight to make is him versus Tony, right? I think that just makes sense. Or what people haven't spoken about, if we don't want to give that right to Tony, because I don't know where Tony necessarily fits into this, but he's probably right there too. What if we did Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler in a number one contender spot? Is that fair to Tony? Because obviously we can't do a Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson rematch because we just saw that and it wasn't competitive, right? Justin beat the hell out of him. So is it a good idea to go, all right, how about Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler? Or would you rather see Tony Ferguson as Michael Chandler's first fight in the UFC? What do you think?
Depends on what they want to do. I remember somebody in the post-fight press conference asked Dana White if he was interested in even thinking about doing as tough coaches, Ferguson versus Chandler. That would be a great element of television. 100%. That would be really good. A really good tough season with Tony Ferguson's out there style and Michael Chandler's matter of fact type of delivery when he's speaking. I think that could make for some really cool television. But that being said, Gaethje did say he wants to fight. He's like, oh, I can fight in 6 weeks. I got choked out. I didn't get knocked out. I'm good to go. Hey, this guy's ready to turn around and fight immediately. So there's a lot of options there for Dana White. You go and look at even Islam Makhachev. He was supposed to fight RDA, and RDA was injured and he couldn't scrap. So Islam Makhachev, in a lot of ways, is that Dagestani successor for Khabib's crown. If you look at it from within his own group of people here, but and he can make a quick rise up. You never know what's happened. This guy's undefeated himself. Now you go and look at the top. Obviously, for me, it should be like a little mini 4-way type of tournament. You got Dustin versus Conor, and you could have Justin versus Michael Chandler or Tony versus Michael Chandler, and have the winner of either of those fights go and fight each other. Now, obviously, what's going to happen, knowing Conor, he's going to make his fight, whoever it's against, is probably going to be against Dustin. It's going to be for the championship. So that's what's there to happen. What would I rather see, Tony versus Michael Chandler or Gaethje versus Chandler? I want to see Tony. Like, that's just me. I'd love to see what Tony's got, trying to bounce back after a loss, welcoming in Michael Chandler and everything. That would be a really amazing type of fight to watch. I know Michael Chandler brings a lot of nice sound all-around game, especially with the wrestling base, against someone like Tony Ferguson. But I don't think he's going to have the violent streak as, say, someone like Justin Gaethje has. So that will be a very competitive, fun fight to watch. With that being said, honestly, it's a good problem to have when you have a wealth of riches in the lightweight division and you have so many awesome matchups that you could make, Don't forget about Paul Felder, Dan Hooker, Charles Oliveira in there, So you got a lot of different kind of guys that you can throw into the mix. I like Islam Makhachev as one of the dark horse guys you can throw in there as well. Like, why not put Makhachev versus someone like Dan Hooker or something? So there's a wealth of riches there in the lightweight division. What do you want to see kind of moving forward for this lightweight division in terms of who gets the championship bout and then what happens afterwards for the future?
Just me personally, I remember when Michael Chandler signed, right? He came over from Bellator. You and I were talking, and we said, man, a good first fight for him would be Dan Hooker, because that would just be such a interesting matchup. But then they put him in as the alternate. And if they think that that's where he belongs, then maybe, if he's coming off as being, he was going to really be number one contender if either Gaethje or Khabib couldn't fight. Well, now that puts us like, well, should he even be fighting a guy who's like just ranked 5th, or should he be fighting like for the title or really the number one contender spot next? And what I would personally like to see is him fight Justin Gaethje. And the reason, and I know that leaves Tony Ferguson as the odd man out, and Tony has done so much and deserves a title shot, don't get me wrong, but this fight would have been the fight to make as an alternate anyway, right? If Khabib, for whatever reason, couldn't make weight or something had happened to him, the fight would have been Justin Gaethje versus Michael Chandler. And because now we don't get to see that Khabib fight, Michael Chandler, because Khabib's not going to come back, then I think that's the fight to make. And then Khabib can be, not Khabib, sorry, Tony will be the odd man out, but I'm sure he'll fight the winner of one of those fights. And it won't be long before Tony gets another shot.
I would love to also see Conor versus, even if Conor, say, goes and wins that championship, now you got options, right? Oh, yeah. Conor Gaethje, obviously Dustin Poirier too. These would all be great matchups, either or, if it was Conor or Dustin. But think about Conor Gaethje, Conor Ferguson, like Conor Hooker, like Conor Makhachev, if he goes and wins one more fight and breaks into the top 5. There's no reason not to push this guy. He's an amazing scrapper who just hasn't been able to be as frequent in there because of his opponents getting injured. So it's going to be damn interesting to see, obviously Islam being this whole successor this whole time, he was supposed to fight RDA, couldn't even get in there, but you go and factor in RDA into the mix as well. You've got a stacked top 10, and you've got a wealth of riches that you can go and make a bunch of awesome fights. And what's most interesting to me is I don't know who comes and dominates and beats everybody that's in this division. There's always somebody in this division where I find that somebody else that they could get matched up with could be their kryptonite. Khabib was like the ultimate equalizer, and we were reminded of that last night. But this could be anybody's division. I don't know if there's going to be a face of it or if there's going to be faces where you have the belt switching hands, which we haven't seen in this division in what feels like forever.
Well, I was just going to say, and I think to answer that, there is none. There's nobody who runs through this division like this, because everybody has a style to beat somebody else, and nobody has that imposing, dominant game plan in the same way. Where I really, really like Dustin Poirier, but I think he loses to Conor. But I think Conor loses to Michael Chandler, for instance, or Tony. And then I think that Tony clearly loses to Gaethje. But man, I'm so excited for what's to come here at 155. We hope that you are too. Let us know, what are your dream matches at 155? We want to hear from you guys too. Mike, thanks again, brother.